For 30 days, what would happen inside your mind? Would prayer be just a religious custom, repeated out of tradition? Or would it be that, with every word, something invisible is actually happening in your brain? Something science is only now beginning to reveal? And more importantly, could it be that the Bible and science are saying the same thing, just in different languages? Today, on the Bible Lab, you will discover how such a simple spiritual habit can literally reshape your brain, strengthen your faith, and change the way you see life. So, get ready, because now we're going to answer the big question. What happens to your brain if you pray for 30 days? On the outside, nothing seems to change. You close your eyes, take a deep breath, fold your hands, and begin to speak with God. At first glance, it looks like a simple act of faith, almost invisible. But what if I told you that, at that very moment, something has already begun happening inside your brain? Tiny electrical impulses light up, like city lights flickering from above. Hidden areas of your mind start moving. Memory, attention, emotional control. It's as if prayer were a secret key. A key that unlocks circuits you didn't even know existed. The Bible has already challenged us. Pray without ceasing, 1 Thessalonians 5:17. But what if that invitation wasn't just spiritual? What if, by guiding us to pray continually, God was already showing us a path of mental and emotional transformation, thousands of years before science ever discovered it? Now, imagine if you put this into practice for 30 consecutive days, a daily routine of prayer without failing once. Would your mind be exactly the same at the end of that period? Or would your brain have been literally reprogrammed by prayer? But before we dive into that, go ahead and subscribe here to the Bible Lab. This is the place where we bring together faith and science in a different way, with reflections that make you think, learn, and draw even closer to God. So, click the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next videos. Now then, let's get started. In recent years, science has decided to investigate something that faith has known for millennia: the power of prayer. And the results surprised even the most skeptical. When someone begins to pray, specific regions of the brain light up as if areas of a city were turning on their streetlights. Neuroscientists observe that parts related to attention, memory, and even emotional control become more active. In other words, each prayer is like a workout that helps the brain focus better, remember more, and respond calmly in the face of difficulties. And it doesn't stop there. Research has shown that frequent prayer reduces the level of cortisol, the well-known stress hormone. That means less anxiety, less internal pressure, and more serenity to handle daily life. At the same time, the body releases substances like dopamine and serotonin. These are the ones that bring that sense of peace, relief, and even happiness after a sincere prayer. It's as if the brain were saying, "Keep going, this is good for you." But the most incredible thing happens when this practice becomes a habit. After a few days, and especially after 30 days of daily prayer, the brain goes through a phenomenon called neuroplasticity. This means that the connections between neurons grow stronger, like roads being paved from so much use. Each prayer becomes a step on that road. And the more you pray, the easier it becomes to access states of calm, hope, and resilience. In short, prayer is not just a spiritual act. It is also an invisible training for the brain. A training that, in just 30 days, can begin to change the way you think, feel, and react to life. Everything that science today calls neuroplasticity, this ability of the brain to transform, the Bible had already described in another way thousands of years ago: the renewal of the mind. In Philippians 4:7, Paul wrote, "And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Do you notice the detail? He does not speak only of the heart, but also of the mind. It is as if he were already pointing to this inner transformation that prayer brings. And when we look at biblical history, we see that all the great men and women of faith had prayer as the central part of their lives. Daniel prayed 3 times a day, every single day. Even knowing this could cost him his life, he kept the habit. The result? A steady mind, full of courage, even when facing lions. David turned his prayers into psalms, and they weren't mechanical words. They were outpourings, cries for help, but also expressions of gratitude. Prayer shaped his mind to be resilient in the midst of persecutions and battles. Jesus, before every important decision, such as choosing the disciples or facing the cross, always withdrew to pray. If even he, the Son of God, sought that moment of connection, imagine us. Science looks at graphs, scans, and measurements. The Bible translates it into real experiences: peace, strength, courage, hope. In Romans 12:2, Paul emphasizes once again, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That is exactly what prayer does. It not only connects you to God, but also reorganizes your thoughts, strengthens your faith, and gives clarity in the midst of chaos. Deep down, science is only putting numbers and images to something Christians have experienced for thousands of years. Prayer transforms the brain because, above all, it transforms the soul. Now, let me ask you a direct question. What if you accepted the challenge of praying every day for 30 days straight? I'm not talking about endless hours of prayer, but a simple daily commitment. Maybe 5 minutes in the morning, thanking God for a new day. Or a few minutes at night, before sleeping, laying your worries in God's hands. Science says that after 30 days of repetition, the brain begins to consolidate new habits. And the Bible confirms that spiritual discipline bears fruits of peace and perseverance. In other words, 30 days may be enough to start a deep change in the brain, in the heart, and in faith. Think with me. How would your mind be if, instead of starting the day scrolling through social media, you started it by talking to God? What would your week be like if, instead of piling up anxiety, you had a daily moment of spiritual release through prayer? And what would your life be like if, in just 1 month, prayer became as natural as breathing? Here's a simple plan that anyone can follow. Step 1. Choose a fixed time, morning, afternoon, or evening. The important thing is consistency. Step 2. Start small. 5 minutes is enough. Step 3. Use a psalm as a guide, or simply make a list of things to be thankful for. Step 4. Repeat this every day without fail for 30 days. At the end of this period, you might notice something surprising. The problems are still out there, but inside you, your mind is calmer, your heart lighter, and your faith stronger. In the end, praying is not just a religious act. It is a dialogue with God that, at the same time, reprograms the brain, strengthens the mind, and brings peace to the heart. Science calls this a neurological change. The Bible calls it the presence of God. And deep down, both speak of the same reality. Prayer transforms. It transforms anxious thoughts into confidence. It transforms fear into courage. And it transforms the mind into a place of hope and clarity. So, if 30 days of prayer can begin to change the brain, just imagine what an entire lifetime of prayer can do. Now, I want to hear from you. Would you accept the 30-day prayer challenge? Leave your answer here in the comments. Who knows, maybe other people will be inspired by your example. Give this video a like and share it with someone who needs this reflection. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to The Bible Lab, because here we bring the Bible, science, and faith together in a different way. See you in the next video, and may God bless your journey.